Right, so a crucial verdict this for the banking and the financial industry space. It's been a long time coming. It was reserved in December of 2020, and finally now the Supreme Court laying down various key principles that will be guiding the banking and the financial industry going forward. Let's take a look at some of the key takeaways. First up, the Supreme Court says that it can't be said that the government and the RBI have not done their job in terms of giving relief. In fact, the Supreme Court lists out various reliefs and says that a lot of stimuli has already been given to the economy. Second, goes on to say that the government has to decide as per its own priorities, that the government is the best judge of those policy decisions and that it should be left to the government. Subsequently, the Supreme Court also said that the government's hands are also tied. Let's keep in mind the Supreme Court says that the government has also foregone revenue on account of the pandemic as well as the lockdown, and that the government has its own limitations. So that is something that the Supreme Court lays down as a part of this judgment as well. Subsequently, the Supreme Court goes on to say that the court can't be expected to have expertise. Now, this is a key principle being laid down here, that the Supreme Court is an adjudicator of law, not economic policy. It can't be deciding on what the ideal policy should be, and that this is a matter that is best left to the government, which is guided by experts. So now, again, a key principle being laid down. Subsequently, the Supreme Court says that any of these reliefs that have been sought for will have far-reaching consequences for the economy, which again the court may or may not be equipped to best judge. So that is a key principle again being laid down. Subsequently, that brings us to the key takeaways. What are the directions that have been given? Number one, the Supreme Court says no case made out as far as interest waiver is concerned. It is simply not possible. The principle is that banks also have to pay depositors. That's something that the RBI had been cautioning the Supreme Court about. So that's been taken note of. The second is no room available for extension of moratorium. That's again another prayer that has been struck down. The number three prayer that was also asked for is that a mandamus to the government or the RBI to give sector-specific reliefs. Again, the question, the answer has been from the Supreme Court that no, that is just not possible. Another key takeaway here is classification of NPAs. Now, that was something that, in fact, there was an interim order against. The Supreme Court, importantly, by way of this judgment, has vacated that stay. The banks will be at liberty to decide which accounts can qualify as NPAs. But this is where things get interesting. The Supreme Court has chosen to shine light on interest on interest. Here, the Supreme Court says that there's no rationale for limiting this relief only to borrowers who've borrowed less than 2 crore rupees. The Supreme Court further goes on to say that the nature of interest is in the nature of a penal interest and that there is no justification for levy of this compounded interest or interest on interest. As a result, the direction that has been given is that no levy of interest on any of the loans for the 6-month moratorium period. The second key aspect is the Supreme Court says that any amount that might have been recovered will now have to be refunded, which raises, in fact, 3 key questions. Number one is there is limited legal remedy available in the form of a clarification, modification, or review application. Will the government exercise that? That's question one that we're asking. The second question we're asking is what is the additional burden on account of the widening of relief of interest on interest? That's another key question. The third is who will foot the bill? Will it be the banks? Will it be the government? That's a question that needs, again, more clarity. So clearly, a lot of key questions being answered by the Supreme Court, clarity being given. But there are, of course, some concerns as well in terms of operationalizing this order. We'll, of course, continue to track the latest updates from the government as well as from the courts.